Hello and welcome back. I know it's been a while. Uh, we had the whole Indie Animation Gala and Indie Animation Day, and I am Mike from Growworks, and of course you saw my stuff. But today I am joined by a fellow indie animator, Samuel, the creator of Obsidian Archives. Hey man, how you doing?
Oh, great to be here, and
Mhm.
thank you very much,
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
How you been?
I'm good. I'm good. Just uh, dealing with awful Chicago Midwest weather. Just
Oh dear.
yeah, it's either like super hot by us right now, or it's raining like hell. So, what about you? How have you been?
I've been good. My sleep cycle has been all over the place. I've been
Mhm.
doing a lot
Oh,
of audio design for the upcoming episodes.
of
I
course.
usually do the audio first before I make the episodes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. How else have you been? You got any like anything else you've been talking about, or any projects you're potentially working on other than this, or just
I lay it down like this. So basically, I have like individual animators who are each working on like a different short.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, it's going to be like kind of like a conveyor belt, sort of.
Ooh, yeah, that's a very fun thing to hear. But while we're on the subject, well, let's get into it. Today, I am talking to the creator of the Obsidian Archives about his series, the Obsidian Archives. uh, yeah, would you like to kind of give us a general kind of pitch of the series?
I think the best way to describe it is the exiled son of Mordred Pendragon must reclaim the throne of Albion with the help of a she demon known as Ziria. Little does he know this she demon known as Ziria wants to become a princess, and she is going to annoy the hell out of him to achieve that dream.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's great. All that stuff. Yeah. Were there any like I love this like all these characters' looks and fancy and stuff like that. Was there any like, uh influence in your series other than, you brought like mentioned X File, like just from like the look of it alone? Or is it just kind of general dark fantasy stuff?
Well, I've been heavily influenced by like Game of Thrones and stuff.
Mhm.
Very disappointed with how like the last season ended. Obviously, I think that's a common
Mhm.
sentiment. In terms of like aesthetics and stuff, I kind of go for like the grim dark, like militarized like uniform, but I wanted to throw in something cute to kind of juxtapose
Mhm.
the oppressive atmosphere. Like, if you ever play like League of Legends or you play
Yeah.
other fantasy stuff, you get a lot of like short characters that are like about like knee to waist height or
Yeah.
whatever.
Love
That's
more impish types.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Would you say like I'm not sure how long has this been in like production, like even just like thought wise. Was any of it influenced by stuff like Arcane?
I think I started working on this before Arcane came out, but I think
Mhm.
Arcane probably had a part of an influence.
Mhm.
I tell it to you like this, right? If you've ever played like Legend of Zelda on like Wii, I think you might like know where I was going
Mm,
with some of the designs.
yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, while we're here, why don't we get into the very first character of the series? Oh, sorry, the setting.
Oh, the setting. Yeah. So the setting takes place on the many worlds. They're like floating realms that interconnect each other via like whirlpools and underground tunnels.
Mhm.
Ages ago, ancient wizards would like make portals to get from one world to another, but some of them would like F up really badly and cause either the earth to cave in or water to kind of like funnel through, perpetually
Mhm.
keeping the portals open.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, There's a place called Albion Prime, which is just a combination of the Mediterranean, Europe, and Britain. If Britain was like three times bigger in its own supercontinent.
Mm.
However, the Obsidian Archives takes place on a different realm known as Obsidian Prime, which used to be known as the Spiraling Isles.
Mhm.
You had the Sandlands and the nation of Obsidia, but Obsidia was kind of like it, like in serfdom to the area of Silica, basically.
Yeah.
It's a long history. It takes place within the span of 1,000 years, obviously.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it seems like you've done like a lot of research for this kind of stuff. Was the are you mentioned some of the cultures of like Britain and Europe and the Mediterranean. Was there any like influence in like how you would design them as well? Like was that thought of or?
Oh, okay. So the Sandlands are kind of like modeled in a bit of like Ottoman slash like Persian aesthetic.
Hmm, hmm,
Pretty much like the sultans of old with you know when like you would look at certain regions and like the mountainsides would have that slight shade of like purplish gray almost. It's hard
hmm.
to put my finger down, but like I definitely had to do a lot of the brush strokes for the landscapes.
Nice, nice. Now, yeah, now you've drawn a lot of this, correct?
Okay, well, okay, time out. So the Imp and the Prince, the very, very first, the very first pilot was drawn by my friend Jacob.
Hmm,
I'm probably going to butcher the second name. Magi's, Magius. He's basically he was from like Cuba and he moved to Florida and he does a lot of really cool like artwork. I think you'll see some of it like later on in the actual pitch Bible.
hmm.
But what he would used to do for me is he would draw in grayscale in a very sketchy kind of rustic European fairy tale style. And what I would used to do is I would take it into Photoshop and I would do the color processing where I would use multiply or overlay to make it really like pop and have that old rustic dried paint kind of feel.
Nice. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I love it. Definitely has more of like almost like a painting kind of look towards it.
Yeah, of course. This map here was created in Incarnate. Incarnate has like a license thing, so basically, as long as you have like the subscription, in theory, that means oh yeah, this like map is entirely yours, basically.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, nice. Now you mentioned that their realms. Would you say like is that just the term used to describe lands, or is that like are they separate by universes, or they their own worlds, or?
Well, most of them are pretty closely clustered together.
Mhm.
Um, I think I actually have a document that isn't in the pitch Bible. I could like totally like give it to you right now, and it would actually save you a lot of trouble. Think of it kind of like Kingdom Hearts or an alternate way of traveling between planets.
Oh, okay, I see.
Okay, I think I put it under the writing section.
Mm,
Yeah, okay, all right. So this is okay, so this is like a very rough example.
mhm.
I think this was like an old version. I had like a better version lying around somewhere.
Oh yeah, I can totally see kind of like the Kingdom Hearts influence with that.
Oh, okay, I found a better
Ooh,
image. Give me a sec. Here we go. This one is a lot more elaborate and pretty much important throughout the entire story since a lot
mhm.
of battles will factor in, oh, how are we going to get there? Like, which way are we going to
Yeah.
approach from? The blue lines represents the whirlpools. The purple
Mhm,
ones represents the portals that have been calculated and created with arcane magic from the Obsidian Empire.
mhm.
And the last one is basically earth holes where like the caverns kind of open up from one cavern to another.
Wow. Yeah. So this is like a whole kind of adventure series of like going through like various lands and like different cultures and that kind of stuff.
Yes, indeed. So like Albion's based on Britain, Rungar's based on like Norse like mythology, but there's actually a continent at the bottom that kind of is based on Greece.
Hmm.
Rusheim's based on Russia. Dragonia is like three of the major cultures in like Asia, kind of like melded into one, kind of like an allegory for the Three Kingdoms conflict.
Hmm. Hmm.
And of course, Obsidian Prime, which is kind of a hodgepodge between English and like Saxionic culture, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Which realm does this series start in?
So the actual, in terms of release order, the first story, The Imp and the Prince, takes place in Silica in Obsidian Prime.
Hmm.
So it's mostly in the Sandlands for like the bulk of the first four chapters.
Hmm. Yeah. That's really cool. Would you mind if we moved on to the characters?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Milan.
uh, like his nose.
Oh yeah, like his nose, like his thing. As we've kind of developed the character, we've kind of decided, oh yes, like Milan absolutely has a very, very angular, like pointed nose. He got it from his mother's side.
Yeah, very nice. uh, uh, so this is the main character of the series, correct?
Yes, he is. I'm not going to mince words. He's not necessarily the good guy of the series, but he is kind of
Mm.
like,
The protagonist.
yeah, like imagine, if you will, a world of chaos where this is like the only guy who wants to achieve any semblance of order, basically.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Would you mind kind of give it a bit more of like his backstory?
Okay, so he was the bastard child of Mordred and Alicia. Alicia was initially a golem birthed from the rivers of Avalon,
Mhm,
and he is in theory he's a hybrid, but you have to understand that Alicia gave up her immortal stone-like flesh so she could bear children, but some of the angularities have kind of like carried over genetically,
mhm,
basically. Him and his mother had to flee when Dulac betrayed the Pendragons,
mhm,
and they were hoping they could have refuge in Avalon, but the Maiden of Avalon, like, we don't know what the true like motivation is, but she basically casted them into a whirlpool, basically appearing like she killed them, but like the three great arcs made it to Obsidia through the whirlpool,
mhm. Okay.
and he had to, like, survive in a very harsh upbringing under the brutal farm of goblins.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Wow, that sounds like there's a uh, kind of a lot thought out of the fantasy world in here, especially with the various species and kind of gods and stuff like that.
I treat it like actual history. Like, you don't have like just one era. It's more like, oh, different things are happening at different like
Of
clusters of
course.
years.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Now you mentioned that his, of course, mother was kind of a goddess, but like kind of drop that when he conceived him. Does he have any like inherent like say magical powers or anything like that, or is it?
He has two magical powers.
Mhm,
So he had his tendons are kind of like hydraulics. That's from Mordred's side. Basically, as the legends go, Mordred, the Black Knight,
mhm.
he had the strength of 10 men. And then some guy goes, well, actually, it's 10 peasant men, and they weren't actually that strong.
Yeah. So the strength of like one full man or one slightly above average man now.
Yeah, or something like that. Like, he could probably lift the car, like a small like hubby or whatever, like a
Mhm.
small what, I don't know what you call them. I don't think hubby's the name of a car. I think I've just made that up.
Herbie.
Oh yeah, yeah. He would literally pick up a Herbie. There we go. But his other ability, if you notice on his right hand, like
Mhm,
most Art of Milan, he would usually wear gloves. But whenever you do see his hand, you notice his right hand is like this mummified corpse hand.
mhm.
That hand has the ability to manipulate time in a very, very specific way. It
Uh-huh.
is shown in like the second episode of the Imp and the Prince, and it's basically his like kind of like his JoJo ability, basically.
Mm. Yeah. Would you say stuff like anime at all was an influence in this, or?
Oh yeah, JoJo, like, specifically.
Yeah.
Like Jacob, he's just a big fan of JoJo, so whenever he does a lot of the drawing, he tries to like get
Mhm.
influence from the poses and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's great. uh, yeah. And now, what's his? I know you said his goal is to reclaim the throne. Is there anything else he's kind of setting out to do, or is that just mainly his main thing? Or
I think, on a philosophical sense, he has the obligation of a monarch. his whole ideology is that it's a one of sort of self-sacrifice.
Mhm.
You know how like other nobles they'll live in luscious luxury and have bonbons and live on
Yeah.
couches and stuff. Like Milan is not about that at all. He's like, okay, I'm born for this purpose. I must like better the living standards of my people no matter what. Even if it comes at the expense of outsiders, which is kind of the flaw in his personality, basically.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Would you say he changes like his? Is the point of this like is he gonna like change his personality or motive as it goes on, or is he more of a, or is it like more set in stone with him, or?
I think what's interesting about mortal characters as opposed to gods is that gods 9 times out of 10 have to remain static to what they're about.
Uh-huh.
But I think Milan is kind of fledgling in the sense that he's trying to figure out the exact criteria of which he should express who he is. Because it's all fun and games to like go, oh yes, I shall do the hard power option 24/7. But like I think in Milan's journey, he comes to learn that sometimes you have to use soft power to make the things work.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I notice he has a sword on him. Is he like a very capable fighter, or?
He is. Now, I haven't. Here's the thing: he's ambidextrous. However, I do like to imagine whenever he's like made a wrong move in a sword fight, he usually just throws his like sword away and just snaps his fingers to like reset, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's great. Were there any kind of sword styles you were inspired by, or stuff you looked into?
The
Um,
Fate series, definitely
uh,
the Fate series. Like,
I was kind of wondering like real life sword styles, or.
oh, real life sword styles. I definitely think he might do that like that French style where they hold the blade like kind of upwards, so no matter what way they go, it's like a downward sweeping motion.
Oh yeah, I think that's not epee, uh, rapier style.
Um, I think rapier style is more about the piercing action,
Oh
though,
no,
isn't
yeah,
it?
that's also epee. Yeah, what? Sorry, kind of zoning out on what it would be called.
All his motions are mostly based upon cutting, sweeping
Swings.
actions.
Cool stuff.
9 times out of 10, you'll find him with a gladius. He only brings out like Claren if it's like ceremonial, or he has to like bring out the big guns.
Mhm,
Because I mean, if you lose it, like that's like an ancient artifact. You don't really want to be losing that.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's is it? You said it's a nature artifact. Is it like prime for thieves or bandits to try and steal?
I mean, they could like try to, I
Yeah,
guess. Like it's
yeah.
definitely like in the castle somewhere. I can imagine like some smart ass trying to like steal it or whatever. You understand, Claren is literally the sword and the stone.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very cool. Was King Arthur like a big influence, or just Arthurian kind of media in general?
I feel like if Britain was to ever have a mythology, it would definitely be built around like the legend of like King Arthur, Uther, and Mordred,
Hmm. Hmm.
since they were like the three great kings, basically.
Yeah, yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. Would you like to move on to the next character, or is there anything else you want to talk about this guy?
Um, I think the whole point of Milan is for him to be like this kind of nuanced kind of villain that is
Mm.
somewhat principled, but it's like it's about being in a bind like ethically 24/7, basically.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, yeah, well, that's very nice. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Do you have a voice actor picked out for this character?
Oh yeah, he's already been voiced by a guy named Will, who's like very British and very fluent in the mannerisms of the character.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, very nice. Alrighty. Next slide. Sure. Yeah, I've seen this character around a lot.
Ah yes, Ziria, the poster imp of the series.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, can you give us kind of a quick kind of summary of the backstory of this character and maybe why she is so popular?
Okay, so she's this like adorable, like chibi imp creature from the depths of hell who I mean, like she's from the Lust Ring, but as you begin to find out, though she might have learned a thing or two from there, her personality doesn't actually fully like match up with the location. She's more into the idea of putting on like pretty dresses and having like delicious meals and stuff.
Nice.
She like as soon as she was born in hell, she's like, man, I'm gonna leave this place. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
somewhere cool, basically.
Is she like a kind of a black cat among the imps right now, or black sheep? I mean, or uh,
I think in the novelization I'm writing, it's pretty much implied that she wasn't that successful at being a last imp, and like her
oh,
brother would always have to like bail her out.
oh, yeah.
Her brother being D the demon.
Mhm. Yeah. Now you just mentioned lust imps. Are there a variety of imps in your series?
Absolutely. Like the way I've kind of divided it, there's 9 rings, but like I've kind of altered it from like Dante's in oh, who let the dogs out, eh?
Sorry.
So I've sort of based it on Dante's Inferno, but I basically swapped a lot of it around because I found it not that well organized. Like, no, really, like there's a
No.
bit of overlap in certain sections, and some of the other areas sound similar to other areas, etc. So instead, what I've done is we have Purgatory, we have the 7 deadly sins, and then we have Dis, which is like the last ring of treachery where it's all frozen and stuff.
Hmm.
No one lives in Dis. Like literally,
No.
it's the carcass of Lucifer, and that's it, basically.
Oh, yeah. That's great. What's her dynamic with Melon? Is it like a equal partnership, or is she kind of viewed down on as a person?
I think what it is that on like an emotional, spiritual level, they are effectively of the same mind on a lot of issues, and
Hmm.
thus it's a very strong, like it's a very strong like companionship or whatever. There's a lot of like working together and like brainstorming stuff. But
Hmm.
when it comes to their actual desires of goals, like Ziria is probably acts more of a noble than Milan does in certain ways.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
But in the sense, but like more in a Mary Antoinette kind of style as opposed to
Uh,
actual competency.
like a spoiled person who just wants riches and money and fancy dresses.
Yeah, but she's definitely empathetic though. I,
Hmm.
I I think something about torturing people in hell is basically like put her off the aspects of doing the whole demon thing.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Uh, would you say are you going to try out different outfits of her if her goal is to like wear so many different kinds of pretty dresses, or does she usually get kind of put in like the same design?
There's about like 4 different outfits. There's like the princess dress that she stole from Silica.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, this is like a more updated version. We kind of went with this very imaginative, like we have these layers of fabric on the outside of her shoulder pads.
Oh, yeah, very nice. Is it based off a real dress whatsoever, or is it more?
Yes and no.
No?
Like we
Mhm.
studied some Tudor designs, and then we was like, oh hey, why don't we have like the outer layer be like kind of just strips of fabric that's just kind of sewn on after the fact?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's very cool.
The other outfit is she has this little like prisoner slave outfit from like Silica, like you could see up in the top right. There's a villain called the Time Baron who is mostly told in the past tense because he's like long gone at the start of the story,
Mhm.
but effectively she like he wanted to get a wish from her. She couldn't grant that wish, and he's like, "Oh, okay, if you're gonna waste my time, I'm gonna waste yours." And then he like puts her in a cage.
Nice, nice. Would you say are imps kind of viewed as like a lower class kind of demon? Like, are they capable of magic or?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a class thing. I'd say it's more of a power level thing.
Yeah, yeah, tier.
So like the majority of like starting out demons with like low soul counts are like imps, but
Mhm,
like imps that eat a lot of souls could like get like bigger and maybe taller, and
yeah.
then that's when they like become regular sized demons or even like demon lords.
Okay. Yeah. Has Zira ever eaten any souls?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a
Yeah.
demon can't exist without them. It's kind of the tragedy of their existence. It's like they could be like a moral person, but at some point they're
Mhm.
gonna need to like eat the soul of something. Kind of like the same way we like at
Mhm.
some point we need those like vitamin B12, so we
Yeah.
absolutely like need to eat the cow, eat the chicken. Very
Yeah.
delicious.
Very interesting. Yeah. Is she capable of any magic right now, or is she
Oh,
more like
absolutely.
yeah?
She shoots fireballs. If you see the Shroomkin episode, she basically like takes them all out with a fire blast.
Mhm, mhm, yeah, yeah, now, she's a lot smaller than, a human. What height would you put her at?
Here's the thing. It's kind of fluctuated between the different artists, but I
Okay.
always like headcanon. I've always like said she's about like waist high or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, uh, do you think, how much of a devil on, Melon's shoulders can she be when, like, he is already, like, scheming on his, side?
You want the honest fact? I think it's the other way around.
Oh.
I think it's more the philosophical question of like demons in theory are supposed to be like quote unquote born evil
Mhm,
or at least have like a natural inclination to it. But with humans, they kind of choose the path, you
mhm.
know. So
Of
it
course.
kind of puts things in a bit of a relative question, doesn't it?
Yeah, 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 totally. Yeah, yeah. Is she is she like an artist's favorite character to design? Like, cause she does she get like all the funny expressions or like all the like more abstract poses and stuff like that, or does she get the most outfits? Or
I mean, she definitely has the most different outfits. Like I've already named two of them. The other two is the adventure outfit and the gym outfit.
uh huh, uh huh.
Effectively, when it comes to expressions and stuff, we have experimented around a little bit.
Mhm,
We kind of opt for like doing a very weird W shape where it kind of implies fangs, but it also kind of has like a devilish cat kind of look with the mouth.
oh yeah, I could totally see kind of the cat grin look with her. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, also, I noticed you put love interest question mark.
Oh, that like so you have to understand like in the show, I will not use any of the terms that like modern people use because they wouldn't be invented yet, but they are absolutely the things of which they are in terms of like personality and leanings. So
Mhm,
like Milan, I'm gonna leave it up in the air, but basically Ziria does grow a lot of strong like feelings towards Milan.
mhm.
But like Milan is like so obsessed with his work, he like doesn't always seem to notice.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One. Well, two more questions. Uh, how? Because imps and demons have different ages than humans. How old would you say she is? Like, is she like?
666 years
All right.
old.
That was gonna be. Yeah. That was exactly what I was wondering. Like, is she just 100 years old or 22?
No, no, she's like 666 years old. Her height is mostly due to how many souls she has
Okay.
consumed, and because she
Yeah.
wasn't that successful, like she's like at this like stature. She's more akin to like a gnome or a halfling or something.
Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 Yeah. Can would you say she's like vulnerable to any specific kind of magic, like holy magic, if that's a used in this series, or
She doesn't like crosses, and is the thing. It's very hard to enforce the silver rule, but like yeah, silver could like totally
Mhm.
like scare her off, basically.
like a silver knife?
Yeah, it was a silver chandelier that like done D in.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. We'll get to him next, but yeah, one more thing. Does she have a voice actress?
Yes, she is voiced by a wonderful voice actress person named Jordan. I don't know what the like the gender neutral like term is for like
I think.
actor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's. I think it's also voice actor if it's like non-binary, but it's like ask them. But yeah, yeah, yeah. I get what you're going on. Uh, Yeah.
Jordan. Hold on. Let me say the actual like full name because like they decided to swap from like using like a handle to like using an actual like full name probably for like Hollywood credits. So I think it's only fair that like they get proper shout outs.
Mhm,
Jordan
mhm,
Skarsvara.
mhm.
They are the voice of Ziria, and they do a very, very wonderful, great job.
Yeah. That was actually how I was introduced to your series of it was a short with her just gremlin screaming.
Which one was that?
Uh, it was a parody of the I don't know what it was a parody of, but I know it's a parody of something of like the like I eat so much shit at the tavern and now I have to work out.
Oh, that one. That's like the best one.
Yeah.
That one scored so hard on like TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
YouTube not so much. I think
No.
YouTube's rigged.
Oh. Well, yeah, that's actually I came across it on YouTube, but yeah, very funny. It's just a very good demonstration of like voice acting. Hold on, let me see if I can. Uh, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna pull it up. I'm on your channel. Sorry, just give me a second. Shorts. Oh, here it is.
I cannot hear anything.
Oh,
Wait, can you hear it on your end?
yeah, I can hear it on my end.
Okay. I wonder if that's like a limitation or something on the hardware.
Well, sorry to get back on track a bit of the next character, but yeah, of course, great shorts on your channel on the Obsidian Archives, which people can watch. But yeah, also next character D the Demon.
Ah, yes, Steve the Demon. He is like one of my favorites. Like literally, think of anything like dirty or saucy or just like very indecent, and D will be the one to say it.
Even more so than Ziria.
Zero doesn't really bring up anything unless it's like a little catchy, but she doesn't like she doesn't like go on and on about like different like sexual stuff. Like D on the other hand, like oh yeah, like does this little like, adorable little nasally voice. It's like how slimy can we get him like each episode?
Hmm. Yeah. So he's kind of like would you say he's kind of like the butt monkey of the group?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
He used to be like much larger and taller until he got hit by a silver chandelier. So
Hmm.
like to survive, the insides of his body kind of like melted down and reconstituted into a smaller imp, so he could like escape his carcass.
Interesting. Yeah. And now I guess is he the weakest of the trio right here?
Yeah. I mean, at this state, absolutely. Like he's mostly flung about in cages, being like dragged about, like, and whenever like Milan isn't keeping an eye on him, like D is like just playing little video games on a little hell portal or something.
Cool. Nice. Now does he does is he like the does he like kind of like pull through at the end, or is he just like still like the worst person on your team, or just
I don't necessarily think he's necessarily worse. I just think
no?
he just has like taste that he will just openly declare. I think it's more of just a personality type than anything.
Okay.
I don't necessarily shame him for it unless like he begins to like cross boundaries, and usually like the universe kind of like slaps him in the face when he
Yeah.
does that.
Was he like you? Well, you said he used to be much larger and he used to be Zera's boss when before he got hit by that chandelier. Was he like well known or feared?
Oh yeah, he was like second in command in like the Lust Realm. He's like Asmodeus's favorite son.
Mhm. Like biological son, or is that like a?
Uh, okay, so in the Lust Realm, like about 90% of the demons are related in some way.
Mhm.
and you could trace most of them back to Asmodeus.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've actually, weirdly enough, I did do research long ago about the whole Solomon his rings thing, and like uh Asmodeus, and like a lot of kids, like a lot of stuff with that guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't been like revealed yet or
No.
anything, but like that's going to
Okay.
be pretty
But
much a big deal.
okay, but he's still like alive in this universe, correct?
All the famous demon lords, like in like biblical like scripture, are definitely still alive. The only person who is currently dead is Lucifer, or more
Mhm.
precisely, the original Satan.
Okay.
Satan isn't so much a name as it is a title. It is a demon who is strongest, who will like challenge the mantle on God, basically.
That's really cool. Yeah, yeah. And have there been like several Satans, or has it just been like really one or and
There's
two?
only been one, but all the demon lords are desperately trying to collect the body parts to fuse with themselves so they can take their own swing at it.
Okay, yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I don't think I've kind of heard that take on kind of the Satan before. Uh, Now, as we are talking about like demons right now, stuff like that, are there any demons from like say uh outside of like traditional biblical stories? Like, are there any Asian demons or Slavic demons?
Okay,
Or
okay. So this is the fun part. This is the fun part. Okay,
Mhm,
so you have natural born demons. These are like souls that were just straight up birthed from hell.
mhm,
But then you have humans who become demons because they've been naughty, and Saint Pierre was like, "Nah."
mhm. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, that's cool. What
There's also
population would?
Oni. There's
Oh,
also Oni.
oh,
Oni
that's
are,
cool.
yeah.
Would you say there's more natural demons or more humans that get turned into demons?
Okay, so the Oni are like kind of interesting. So the idea is that even though the Light Council and space Christianity is like the dominant religion of the universe, there's a
Mhm.
lot of like pagan sub deities that are like trying to like grab control, whatever. And
Yeah.
some of them have their own heaven hell dynamics. But because of the gravitational pull of evil, basically, a lot of the hells kind of like overlap, so to speak. So like Onis like biologically could totally survive in hell and pretty much function like any of the other demons.
Mhm. Yeah, it sounds like you did like a lot of research and some world building here. Give it a
It's
lot.
very
Yeah.
pluralistic, very
Mhm.
pluralistic. Like
Yeah.
if you could think of a thing that exists, it probably exists in some capacity.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff. Out of curiosity, was something like Discworld ever an influence in your writing, or?
I was fond of the Sky specials for Discworld. It had a
Yeah,
lot of interesting stuff. Um I'm not keen on the remake. That was a bit I don't know what was going on with that.
I didn't see it.
Uh,
I,
I I think they got like an art student and they just like threw everything at the wall to see what stuck, and I think that
mhm.
was like a bad approach.
Ooh, yeah.
No, but like with this world, I don't think there's been that much of an influence. Don't get me
Mm,
wrong, the Grim Reaper is a thing in this universe,
of
but
course.
it's not like I don't think I've been taking any
No.
notes
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
world for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, in this state, does D have any notable magic, or does he have like more like almost like raccoon like abilities of like just claws and teeth? Then.
He could do astral projections. Um, you know, he could do a type of astral projection, but I won't say what it is until it happens.
Ooh. Yeah, yeah, that's very fun. Yeah, yeah. Is there a potential for him to steal back the souls, or potentially get as large as he once was again, or is it
Oh,
like?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Like he could.
Okay.
I mean, if he escaped the jail right now and started just like sucking like people off and then taking their souls, sorry, that's like
Yeah.
a bit of D humor.
Yeah.
A
Well.
lot of like he'll say a thing and it implies another thing, and it's like it's all the puns. No, but
Yeah.
seriously, yeah, he could totally get larger, definitely.
Yeah. Very nice. Now, does D have a voice actor?
Yes, Thomas.
Hmm.
Thomas is a very close friend of mine. He just loves doing the goober character energy. Very smiling
Nice.
friends. Very it's that kind of you
Yeah,
know.
he does kind of look like kind of a character Zach Hadel would scream.
Oh yeah, for real.
Yeah, like mainly when he's in pain, just ah. But yeah, that's very cool. The Obsidian Empire.
Ah, yes, the Obsidian Empire. They got their name for the fact that most of the humans that founded the place were enslaved by goblins who were hired by the Sandkin to harvest obsidian stones.
Mhm, mhm.
But when, like, the humans, put the screws on their slave masters and stole their arquebuses, they effectively, formed a very vicious, like, kind of revenge-based, like, empire, basically.
Yeah. Oh, so I am curious. Is this like a strictly like more of a human run empire, or is it?
Actually, no. Like Milan, because you had to understand, one of the biggest gripes between Mordred and Artheria Pendragon was the whole how should humans like negotiate with the Fae? And
Mhm.
because Morgana was like a witch and like part Fae, like it was definitely, you know, they had to fulfill the will of Mordred. And the will of Mordred is to do the opposite to whatever Artheria was doing.
Okay. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, usually in these kind of series, you just see like strictly human empires in this kind of capacity. But yeah, it's very cool to see more of a kind of a mix kind of thing with it.
The Obsidian Empire is strictly a xenophilic nation. The only
Mhm.
thing they like care about is the refinement and the evolution of a supreme culture. When
Okay.
it comes to when it comes to all the other aspects, they don't really like care as long as you could like serve like the purpose of the empire.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
When the horses almost went extinct because of the Great Second Famine, they had to well, no, hold on. The horse with the first famine, my bad. Sorry, I have like a timeline for this stuff. Um, basically, they had to eventually recruit the centaurs so they could still have horsemen.
Oh, very clever. Nice. Yeah. Was there is there any, like empire either in fiction or in reality that was kind of an influence on this?
Oh, okay. So the thing is, ironically, I couldn't find. I mean, then again, I might have not done enough research, but like, I couldn't find a poster child empire that like I could fully model onto like Obsidia.
Mhm,
Because like the aesthetics and like the economics are a little bit all over the place.
mhm.
Like aesthetically, they're based on Germanic, like Saxon, like
Okay.
war design. Economically, they're somewhat based on the British Empire, but culturally, I think they're kind of based upon Brazilian integralism.
Ooh, that's yeah, I haven't heard that a ton when it comes to as an influence with different fantasy series.
Because the thing is, they could see people like demons, vampires, and like dryads, and they're like, okay, these people are actually very powerful and they have their uses, and like they should be, they should benefit the high end of society if they perform well.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, interesting.
Meritocratic.
Yeah. Yeah. Do any of the rankings come from like based on your race or species or magical
Uh,
ability?
no, but like institutionally, it still kind of ends up being that way anyway. It's
Okay.
like here's the thing: you could be like like a very weak little halfling, but you have like necromancer powers, and you could like skyrocket to being an
Mhm.
obsidian lord just for that alone.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Uh, is there
It's
any
based upon what you can do as opposed to who you are, basically.
okay. So there's no like potential race they would exclude.
The Obsidian Empire, like canonically throughout the whole story, seemed to have a really big hullabaloo with kobolds.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, it's for like various different reasons. Like if you ask a different official, they'll come up with some other reason why they're being mean to kobolds.
Yeah.
The most popular excuse is, they're a very fine source of protein and they produce very quickly. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
boy.
it's like it's the whole factory farm odd world kind of logic, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Now, is there like someone in charge of this, like a designated ruler, or is it about like is it like run by a council or?
There okay, so at the initial stage there was a council, but the council got dissolved quite early on.
Mhm.
It mostly runs as a kind of I'm trying to find the best way to put it. It's kind of like a constitutional monarchy, but like the role of monarch is kind of treated like a demigod, and that
Oh,
all
okay.
the laws are only substantiated because it is ordained by this demigod.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Kind
kind
of
of.
like the Constitution. You know how they go, oh yeah, all these rights they come from God. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's the same mentality, but
Mhm.
something they could like more physically substantiate.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally, of course. Yeah. Would you say they're the ultimate antagonist of the series, or?
They're definitely like kind of a negative force to like outsiders. They're definitely the focus of the series because you got to understand like most of the camera begins to stray away from Milan and starts going on to people both inside and outside the empire and their motivations.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's very cool. Would you mind if we moved on a bit more into like the
Next
environment?
page,
Yeah,
sure thing.
yeah, cool. The land of silica.
Okay, so the lands of Silica used to be the domain of the mercantile empire known as the Silicon Empire.
Hmm.
They would have trade deals with the Nexus of Water, and it was run by a guy known as the Time Baron, who was this like Pharaoh Sultan with the ability to manipulate time.
Okay.
It was um, it was only through a sheer stroke of luck and divine providence that Milan was able to overpower the Baron and allow for the humans to take over. The irony is, this is like capitalism gone horribly, horribly, horribly wrong.
Hmm. Hmm.
You basically have like people trying to haggle with one another until all the money begins to pool to a select few.
Hmm.
And eventually you get people that are in debt to one another and like enslaved. And a lot of the military, instead of it being members of the community, they're like just bought out mercenaries, just like
Right.
enforcing like their will.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's very interesting. Sorry, my dog just jumped. But yeah, yeah, I see that there's also like you brought up how there's more mixed culture from like Turkish and Persian history. Would you say you took any of like the not just the culture but like history into account? Like came to making some of the series history, like any of the.
They definitely have coffee houses. They
Mhm.
definitely have like cannons and arquebuses.
Okay.
I think the very first act of the Obsidian Archives is more of a bizarro version of the Vlad the Impaler story.
Wow. Well, speaking on that, would you mind if we move to the next slide, which
Oh yeah, sure.
it kind of gets into more of the history? Yeah.
Okay, so you have to understand, Milan was the Baron's ward, his like kind of his adopted son.
Uh huh.
But to be fair, it was more of an overglorified hostage situation to keep Alicia in line, basically.
Hmm.
But Milan learned everything he knew about politics through the Baron, and I think even with the Baron gone, he has left like a social impact on Milan that has basically kind of warped him morally, so to speak.
Hmm.
Um, the last like major conflict was like Milan digging an undersea tunnel, and the humans, after surviving 3 harsh winters, were able to go under the sea and up the other end through the peninsula. And that was when they caught the Sandkin by surprise. All their mercenaries were on boats, like trying to raid the place,
Hmm.
while their homeland was just being ransacked by like all the dark irons like metal that was like forged to make these very strong obsidian knights.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like you gave us a lot of like research and detail with the history of your series.
Yeah, the sandkin. Okay, so with the biology of the sandkin, their flesh is made out of sand.
Hmm.
They made a Faustian bargain with a god trapped in a crystal to basically turn the carbon in their body into diamonds that they were meant to give it to charity. It was like, oh yes, use the carbon in your body to enrich the poorest among you. And then they were like, ha, lol, no. And then they started building big palaces and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're basically like sand mummies without the bandages, basically.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So would you say they're like made of sand? Does it mean if like they go into the water, they're doomed, or?
No, not quite. It's more like their body is composed of silica.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Scientists and sci-fi writers have always like pondered upon what a silicon-based life form would look like because it was so close to carbon.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Was there any specific sci-fi series that was an inspiration for this? Uh,
None specifically. Like literally, I think sand, silica, carbon. Take the carbon out, swap the silica. That's it. Just done. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah, you just thought the
The
infinite,
science of it.
yeah, yeah, and like all the infinite like sand worlds and sci-fi series.
I guess there might be a slight Dune influence for the fact that, like, their ruler was literally called the Baron,
Oh,
so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah. Uh, well, speaking of, as we've talked so much about fantasy creatures, why don't you tell us a bit more about like kind of the history of the fantasy creatures, like the variety that you have in your series?
Okay, so we have the Obsidian Centaurs. They are centaurs that are born on the Isles of Obsidia. They kind of like dominate certain areas of like the grass and the forestlands. But the
Mhm,
problem was like biologically they were close to extinction because of their susceptibility to a type of infectious fungus. So Milan, out of his quote unquote infinite charity, gave them penicillin and they've basically signed up.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. Were they like the easiest to, kind of
I wouldn't say easiest because they initially had pushback. Like Milan spoke to their chief Darkoof, and he was like, "Yo, listen, all right. I heard what you did to the kobolds. All right. I'm not gonna fall for that like spiel. What happens if another like winter comes and you get a little peckish? You know what I mean?"
of
And so
course.
Milan had to like prove something substantive that, oi, listen, all right.
Okay.
Like I pretty much saved your people. Like, give me a shot, bro. Like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And what about other stuff like such as the trolls of your series or
Okay, so the trolls haven't made a reveal yet, but they are going to be very important to the story. They usually
okay.
live well. People say, "Oh, they live under bridges," but really, bridges are just like they're just gates that are
Yeah,
just done sideways.
that's funny.
Oh, it's very witty. They mostly like live like underground.
Mhm.
The way the whole stone thing works, because you know how like in different fantasy universes they have like different rules to how like the stone works when like trolls go into sunlight or whatever.
Of course.
In this one, it's just like a mild inconvenience. They get turned to stone as long as you don't tip them over. They'll dehibernate once the sun goes away.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's very yeah, it's a cool kind of take on trolls I haven't heard a ton.
There's also vampires. Vampires and demons are actually somewhat related. Demons are nothing more than fallen angels, but the fallification process also happened to one of Adam's like sons, Cain. Obviously, it's a
Mhm.
very common vampire trope where they go, "Oh yes, the curse of Cain." Oh, Um, but the thing is, like demons kind of treat vampires almost like race traitors because they're like loyal to like humans. Because vampires, even though like they drain humans, they still want humans around, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So are vampires like can they be like from a like can a troll become a vampire or a centaur become a vampire or
You have to have like a functioning like blood system and soft skin to in theory become one.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. What would you say they're kind of like uh the fancy creatures that run into like our main cast? Like how they kind of like deal with one another? Is it more of a trying to like get them to work with them, or is it more of like are they like on the run from like trolls a lot of the time or something like that?
Okay, so there are a handful of species that probably go after the Obsidian Empire, mostly kobolds or the Eldritch. Oh, they had a hard time with elves. The problem with elves is even though they're an advanced civilization with very long lifespans, their culture and their tree hugging nature is very incompatible with Obsidia's domination of nature mentality.
Mhm.
So they're always pretty much at odds unless like tribes of them like get like captured and then eventually like culturally indoctrinated to take on like the Obsidian mantra.
Mhm. Yeah.
They always like try to find like a way to increase their numbers before they consider the like murder route.
Nice to know. Now, one more question. You said there's like, of course, like slavery and prisoners with this kind of stuff. Is there any like species or creature in this that like is like sought after, or that's like considered like especially like rare or interesting, or?
Okay, there's a few. So in Obsidia, they have pets known as drakes. They're like dragons, but they only have like two legs and two wings, or they have two arms and two legs,
Hmm.
or rather, it's like more like four legs because they kind of walk on fours if they have the arms like that.
Uh huh.
But the thing is, they domesticate them like humans did, like dogs, like wolves to dogs.
Hmm.
So they're very loyal. They like to like lick their own in the face, but they do also set fires sometimes. So
Hmm.
it's still kind of risky.
Yeah, that's very cool. Now.
There's also the elusive doppelganger. They're like the crown jewel of all the species.
Mm.
Because unlike all the other species that have like set characteristics, the doppelganger can like mimic most of them. So, like from a Charles Darwin perspective, he would consider them to be like the ultimate species.
Okay. Yeah, it's
To
very.
like change into anything is to dominate nature, basically.
Mm. With, I'm guessing, not a ton of limitations of what they can or can't change into.
The only limitations is what kind of nutrients and proteins they have access to. They're kind of like the thing in that regard.
Okay.
They could like kill someone, take their carcass, and use it to either become what the carcass was or like something else with those components.
Yeah. Yeah. Very. Yeah. Very interesting. I don't think I've heard that take too much when it comes to the doppelganger type, but yeah, very cool. And now to move on. Plot devices.
What makes the Obsidian Archives truly interesting and stand out is that most of the story is told in the past tense.
Hmm.
Basically, whenever you watch any of the mainline episodes that aren't the shorts, you either have Tarek, who is a crystal butler golem,
Hmm.
who usually tells like the mainline stories. And then you have,
Tarek is the one on the left, correct?
yep,
Okay.
Tarek's the one on the left. The one on the right is a guy known as Elias Flynn. He is in charge of the video archives. Now, sadly, I had to like I realized that some of the videos were a little too dark for like general audiences, so I had to like kind of remove some of them. But effectively, this was like back when ARGs were really popular,
Hmm.
like Mandela Catalog,
Yeah.
The Boiled One, etc. Very grim, dark, kind of reminiscent of like 1940s propaganda, but like in VHS quality.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, so yeah, definitely a series that gets into like a darker territory than you would expect, right?
Yeah, it's very like modern day Obsidia is like very diesel punk, a lot of
Hmm.
like strict uniforms, a lot of like propaganda, a lot of like promotion of cross insemination and all that to like
Mhm.
make a stronger soldier of tomorrow, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. That's very yeah, very cool. Now, give me a bit more about like the project itself and kind of your overall goals for it.
So effectively, the Obsidian Archives at the moment is like independently like funded and run. We
Hmm.
mostly opt towards affordable shorts that we can use the algorithm for to like farm, to get like subscribers, get people to know the project exists, and if it's their kind of thing, they could like kind of hop on board in terms of whether it be from a fan perspective or like an artist perspective, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Hmm.
We we at the moment we're still working on episode 5 of the Imp of the Prince. Hopefully that's going to be like the last one of that particular arc.
Yeah. Yeah. How many arcs would you say is kind of your overall goal? Because you've already done some stuff. Is there like a set
The
idea?
story is don't get me wrong, there is going to be an end, but it's so far, and it's like a shonen. It's literally a shonen anime. Like
Nice.
it goes on for like as long as the studio needs it, basically.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is there a like a plan if for like goals you have, or is there like a backup thing you have, or
Um, there isn't. Sadly, there isn't really like a backup, except maybe the novelization. Like, if it
Mhm.
doesn't work as a indie animated show, like if it's not the right environment or whatever, like I could totally take a shot at like the novel route where I write up and hope like some studio like picks it up or whatever.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah,
I mean,
is
that's like the dream for like everyone in this
of
space, right?
course. Yeah. Yeah. Is there like something you're like building to, like a big pilot you want to get forward, or is it like more something like you just want to keep on like kind of showing more affordable shorts until you have the fan base to kind of make something a lot bigger, or
At the moment, we have like a Ko-fi and a Patreon. We are hoping to get more funding,
Mhm.
like throughout the course of this year, hopefully.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I'd say I have a few like lifelines that I can't go into details
Mhm.
on for like safety reasons. But in general,
Mhm.
if we were to get like a big influx of cash, we would like definitely just make like a full on like
Okay.
pilot where like we would just like pay for the bells and whistles, have it like somewhat fully animated, etc.
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. Now, can you tell some of the people where they can support you at?
Yeah, you could support us on the Obsidian Archives Ko-fi and the Obsidian Archives Patreon. If you go on the Patreon, we offer an exclusive Obsidian Archives RPG video game. It's very
Ooh,
short. Basically, it's an overglorified clip show with some exploration and hidden lore bits that you will not know through the videos.
very cool.
On the Ko-fi, we offer a chance for you to be a character as either like some sort of fantasy creature or even just a full-on like goober imp or whatever.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, very nice. Would you kind of like to tell us about some of your socials where people can find you at if they want to support you?
Yeah, we have a Twitter. On the Twitter, I only promote stuff that involves the project. I try and keep things pretty studio like decorum, so to speak. So
Mhm.
it's all, oh, Obsidia's doing this, Obsidia production stuff that. Here's a meme. Isn't this meme funny? Ha ha ha. Like all corpo speak. Like,
Mhm. Of
um,
course.
oh yeah, we got the gala, we got the licking on a lemon.
Indie Animation Day, all that stuff. Yeah,
Oh
but of
yeah,
cour
we
at the
got into
same time,
Reaper. That's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, at the same time, though, people can still check out several of your shorts and animations on your YouTube channel, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we have shorts in both 16 by 9, but we also have shorts by like 9 by 16. I feel like they kind of two different objectives. Like you use the actual videos if you want like the generalized staying audience, but then you want the shorts so you can like scoop up like new eyes, so to speak. Like if
Mhm.
you want me to speak purely from an honest marketing perspective, I feel like yeah, PR is great and all, but I think having like an honest demeanor of how like the system works,
Of
I
course.
think could at least make you appear to be more reliable in the long run in terms of info.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, of course. Do you have now this is more of a matter of opinion thing. Is there a certain comic or short you're specifically proud of?
I think in terms of raw numbers, I really like the gym short. I
Yeah.
think it kind of touches upon both demographics of people that want to lose weight, but then people that are like totally into people gaining weight. Like it just kind of covers that nexus zone, kind of a struck of good luck, so to speak.
Mhm.
You want to see if the yeah, I think your platform just doesn't do desk audio.
Huh. Yeah. But yeah, yeah, it's been really great talk to you and all this stuff. Would you like to tell them one more time of your name and where they can find you? Just
Okay, so the franchise is known as the Obsidian Archives. The is part of that title. And you could find us on Ko-Fi on the Obsidian Archives, and you can find Patreon on the Obsidian Archives.
mhm, mhm. Now I notice you also have a Discord.
Yes, we also have a Discord. It is available on the link on our Twitter. If you have trouble getting in, don't be afraid to like DM me. I could like get that sorted for you.
Mhm.
It should just work though. It should be fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I am Mike
It's
from
been a
Growingworth.
pleasure.
Yeah, and this. Thank you so much for joining me, Samuel from the Obsidian Archives. I am looking forward to your series as well as like any more updates.
I got
And
some juicy stuff planned. Wait
ooh,
and see, you know?
yeah, very nice. But yeah, it's been a pleasure for you coming on, and thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Bye.
Cheers.